Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive where we take a closer look at some of the most thought-provoking ideas out there. And today, we're really going diving deep into the heart of money.
Money, money, money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all use it. We all think about it. Some of us have maybe a little too much of it.
Some of us maybe not enough.
But really, what is it? It's such a fundamental part of our world. But I feel like we rarely take the time to really consider its true essence.
Yeah, we take it for granted, I think.
Absolutely. And, I was so intrigued by these excerpts you shared. They really challenge us to rethink money, to see it not just as dollars and cents.
Not just pieces of paper or numbers on a screen, right?
Exactly. But as something much deeper, something tied to our very existence to human lifetime.
It sounds almost philosophical.
It really is.
Eh.
And that's what we're going to explore in this deep dive. We'll trace the evolution of money from its earliest forms.
Really starting from the beginning.
Yeah, we'll go way back, and we'll delve into its connection to time to labor. And, of course, we'll confront those uncomfortable ethical questions that money inevitably raises.
Sounds like a fascinating journey.
And you brought up such a fascinating point about wealth creation. We'll definitely be unpacking that as well.
That's a topic that always sparks debate.
Always. So let's dive in and see where this journey takes us. I think a good place to start is with one of those sources you shared. It was called O Dinheiro, Invenção e Impacto na Civilização. And it really paints a vivid picture of life before money.
Before money existed, huh? So what did that look like?
Well, think about it for a second. Imagine a world without money. A world based entirely on bartering.
Bartering. So like trading chickens for a plow?
Exactly.
But-
Or a cow for a bushel of wheat.
I mean, that's how people used to do it, right?
It is. It's how civilizations function for centuries. But can you imagine the chaos?
I mean, it doesn't seem very efficient.
He was on it all. Like trying to find someone who has exactly what you need and who also wants what you have.
Right, because what if they want chickens and you have pottery?
Yeah, that's the problem. So this source, O Dinheiro, it describes the complexities of those barter systems. You're determining the value of one good versus another.
Which is really hard. Like, how many chickens is a plow actually worth?
Right, it's so subjective. And then just the sheer difficulty of finding those coinciding wants, it was incredibly limiting.
So money came along and solved all those problems.
It did. It revolutionized the way societies functioned. This source describes it as this incredible leap forward. It allowed for more specialization, more complex trade, more efficiency.
Okay, so how did that happen? How did money come to be?
Well, the source mentions the gold standard as a key example. Gold became this common measure of value.
Why gold?
Well, because of the time and labor required to mine it and refine it.
So the value was tied to the human effort put into it.
Exactly. And that right there is a glimpse into the idea of money as a representation of lifetime. The idea that the value of money is directly connected to the human effort that went into creating whatever it's used to purchase.
That's an interesting way to think about it. So money isn't valuable in and of itself, it's representing something else.
Precisely. This source is saying that at its core, money is a way to measure the time and energy people invest in creating things, whether it's farming, crafting, providing services.
So it's like a stored unit of human effort or lifetime.
Exactly. But of course, money isn't all sunshine and rainbows. This source also talks about the dark side of the coin.
Oh yeah, the downsides of money. What are those?
Well, things we're all familiar with. I think greed, corruption, inequality.
Yeah, those are definitely downsides.
And the source, O Dinheiro, it argues that these negative aspects are intertwined with the advancement of technology.
How so?
Well, it's like this. The pursuit of wealth, it can drive innovation, but it can also fuel some pretty harmful things. Think about wartime advancements, for example.
Oh, right, like new weapons being developed because of war and profit.
Exactly. The source uses a very strong phrase to describe this. It calls it voluntary slavery.
Voluntary slavery. That's a pretty powerful term. What does it mean in this context?
It's provocative, right? It's suggesting that in a system driven by money, we willingly trade our time, our labor, our freedom, even for the benefits that this system provides.
Like we're choosing to participate even though it comes at a cost.
Right, it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, if all this progress, all this technology, has it come at the expense of something else?
It's making me think of that part of the source where it talks about indigenous tribes choosing freedom over material wealth. Like they refuse to sell their soul to the devil, as the saying goes.
That's such a striking contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really challenges our assumptions about what constitutes progress and success.
Like, are we truly free if we're constantly working and trading our time just to keep up with the system?
That's the big question. And it's one we're going to keep exploring as we go deeper into this concept of money as a representation of human lifetime. But we'll save that for the next part of our deep dive. It's pretty unsettling to think about that idea of voluntary slavery, but it really highlights the trade-offs we make in a system driven by money. But we haven't even gotten to the heart of this deep dive yet, have we?
Not quite. We've laid some groundwork, but now we need to really delve into this concept of money as a representation of human lifetime.
Okay, let's unpack that. How does the source approach that idea?
Well, it uses a really interesting example to illustrate this concept, the U.S. minimum wage. When we were putting this deep dive together, it was $7.25 an hour. What does that represent to you beyond just, a number?
I remember working minimum wage jobs when I was younger. It always felt like I was trading my time for very little money. Is that kind of what this source is getting at?
Exactly. It's arguing that those $7.25 actually represent 1 hour of a minimum wage worker's life. It's a direct exchange of time for money.
Wow, that reframes the entire conversation about wages. It's not just about purchasing power or, how many goods you can buy. It's about the value we place on human lives.
And this connects back to that point you raised earlier about wealth creation.
Yeah.
You argued that true wealth isn't just about accumulating money.
Right? It's about adding value through human effort. I was thinking about how raw materials are just that raw. Until people use their skills, their time, their energy to transform them into something valuable. Like a pile of wood and bricks isn't a house until skilled workers put their time and energy into building it.
That's a great example. So if we follow that line of thinking loans, they don't actually create money out of thin air. They authorize the use of existing resources, and more importantly, the application of human lifetime in the form of labor to create something new, something more valuable.
So money isn't the source of value itself. It's more like a tool to facilitate the process of transforming human effort into something tangible.
Exactly. It allows us to measure and exchange that effort, but the real value lies in the human lifetime that's being invested.
I see. And this source argues that conventional economics often misses this crucial connection between money and lifetime.
It's like we've been looking at money through the wrong lens all along.
But if we start seeing it as a representation of human lifetime, it raises some serious ethical questions.
Absolutely. If money represents time, why is there such a massive gap in how different people's time is valued?
Yeah, it's something I've never really understood. Why is a doctor's time considered so much more valuable than, say, a cleaning staff member's time?
It's a question that cuts to the heart of our economic system. The source actually uses a thought experiment to illustrate this point. It asks us to imagine two scenarios: a hospital where the cleaning staff goes on strike versus a hospital where the surgeons go on strike.
Interesting. I can already see where this is going.
Which scenario do you think would cause the hospital to shut down faster?
I mean, it seems pretty obvious that without the cleaning staff, the hospital would quickly become unsanitary and unsafe.
Exactly. It highlights how essential those often overlooked workers are. Their time and their effort are crucial for the hospital to function. Yet our economic system doesn't really reflect that.
So how do we create a system that values all forms of labor equally? If we're all trading our lifetime for money, shouldn't that exchange be more equitable?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one that we need to grapple with. There aren't any easy answers. But by understanding money as a representation of human lifetime, we can start to see the inequalities baked into our system and hopefully work towards a more just and equitable world.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to a whole new way of thinking about money. We've gone from bartering to the gold standard to the very essence of human existence. It's a lot to process.
And we're not done yet. We still need to explore what this all means for us. Where do we go from here? How do we change our perspectives and our actions based on this new understanding of money?
That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive. Wow. It's incredible to think that something as simple as money, I mean, we use it every day, can be so complex.
It really is like we've peeled back layers and layers of meaning and history.
Yeah. We've gone from bartering to the gold standard to like the very essence of what it means to be human. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is, but I think that's the beauty of these deep dives. We get to explore these big ideas and challenge our assumptions.
Absolutely. But now I'm left wondering, like, where do we go from here? What can we actually do with this newfound understanding of money?
I keep thinking back to those indigenous tribes we talked about earlier, the ones who chose a different path, a path that prioritizes freedom and a different way of valuing life.
Yeah. Their story really stuck with me, too. It's a reminder that there are alternative ways of living that exist outside of our current economic system.
Right. And it's not about romanticizing those alternatives or saying that everyone needs to live that way. It's about recognizing that the way we do things now, it's not the only way. And if we really believe that money represents human lifetime, then shouldn't we be striving for a system that values that lifetime more fairly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But changing a system that's so deeply ingrained in our society, it feels daunting.
It is. It's a huge challenge. But like any big change, it starts with awareness. We need to start seeing the world through this lens of money as human lifetime.
And once we do that, what then?
Then we can start asking those critical questions about how we value different types of work, how we distribute resources, how we measure success, and how we can create a system that's more just and equitable.
You asked that thought-provoking question earlier about what the world would look like if we truly valued everyone's time equally. I've been thinking about that a lot.
It's a question that really gets to the heart of it all. What if all forms of labor, from caring for children and the elderly to, developing life-saving technologies, were truly recognized and rewarded fairly?
I mean, that would require a fundamental shift in how we think about work and value and even human worth.
It would. And it's not a shift that's going to happen overnight, but we have to start somewhere. We have to start questioning those assumptions that underpin our current system.
So, like, what are some of those assumptions that we should be questioning?
Well, for starters, why are certain professions automatically valued more highly than others? Why do we prioritize profit over people so often? And who benefits from the current distribution of wealth? I mean, these are big questions.
They are. And I don't pretend to have all the answers.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad we had this deep dive. It's really pushed me to think differently about money and its impact on all of our lives.
Me too. It's not just an abstract concept, it's a reflection of our collective time and effort, our very essence as human beings.
And that's a powerful realization.
It is. It changes everything, and I hope our listeners are feeling that shift in perspective too.
This has been an incredible journey. Thank you for taking us on this deep dive and for sharing these thought-provoking sources.
It's been my pleasure. These conversations are always so enriching.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the heart of money. We encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, keep asking those tough questions, and keep imagining a world where money truly serves humanity.
And not the other way around.
Exactly. Thanks everyone for listening.